Hey guys, we got an exciting one for you today. Sam Bankman-Fried, also known as SBF, also known as Sam Bankman-Fraud, he took the stand in the trial finally for FTX, and he got brutally spanked by the prosecution. Just his little hiney turned red. Is that right?
The auto workers union strikes a historic deal with the car companies. We're going into it. We're going into all the things they won. How they did it, what's next?
Yeah, because they're not just stopping there. They got the UAW has their sights set elsewhere. They're going to be striking all over the damn place. Also, are electric vehicles really the future? Because they're kind of maybe not after all. That's pretty awkward if you ask me. Jesus. Plus, the guy who played Chandler died. Taylor Swift is a billionaire. And Gavin Newsom knocked down a little Chinese kid. So hit that intro.
I'd like to try to sell something to you.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no races. There is no West. Dictators, control homes, mafia, rank marks, reigns, rules, powers, and
Cheeto. Chester,
I like the
Cheeto,
breadsticks.
Chex,
I like the
mix,
breadsticks.
mix,
Breadsticks.
Mix.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 20 of Pay Pigs. We got a very special
Much
one.
to discuss.
God, we got so much. All right, let's just hit it right off the bat. Matthew Perry died. What do you think about that?
In a hot tub. Could I be dying in any more Hollywood way?
Dude. Whoa, you got to give him, like, you got to let the rigor mortis set in first, at the very least.
Can you not do that?
I think it's funny. I think it's fine, and I think him being a comedic actor would probably appreciate. I mean, that's the thing, folks.
That's a tribute.
It is. It is a tribute. They still don't know what killed him. It is terrible because he was a really brilliant. You know, he made like $96 million from Friends.
Yeah, that checks out.
That's insane. I remember it being such huge news when I was a kid.
That it ended?
No, when it was.
Oh, they got $1 million an episode?
Yeah. I remember the media made it seem like they were greedy or something. It's like, no, man, they know what they're worth. Their agents are working for them. We know a thing or two about that, don't we?
Yeah, we're getting $1 million an episode.
Yeah, we're getting $1 million per episode. Speaking of making $1 million,
Taylor Swift.
Our girl Taylor Swift
is now a billionaire.
We got to give her I got to give her the. You know how sometimes they do the salute that's like, it's the normal salute, but then sometimes they do
you
it
think
like this.
Normally they do it with their left hand?
I don't know. I'm just doing it for the camera.
My dad's screaming right now.
Oh, I bet. Mr. DeRosa, I'm so sorry, sir. I'm saluting like this.
Yeah,
I'm doing it even more fucked up so that it pisses him off even more. She just hit billionaire status, which is wild. Oh,
how do we feel about that?
I think that it's solid because she did it all on her own. Like from just her art. She didn't create a lipstick.
I like that.
Period. No headphones. Most women get billionaire status by making lipstick.
That's usually how it goes.
It's usually
also. I think I was surprised by the break. They had a little breakdown of touring, music, whatever, and they had her Spotify numbers or whatever. It was like 100-something million.
Just from Spotify?
Yeah, wouldn't you think it'd be more?
I actually am surprised that it's that much.
100
million? Yeah, because they make like 0.001.
I know, but she streams so much. Also, It's just like, what a bad fucking deal.
She stays very well hydrated. She streams, It's a little too early in the episode for a pee-pee joke, huh? Probably. This week. But, so... You know what's wild is she could just keep doing these damn tours and just get all the way up to super billionaire status. You'd park it all in Apple and collect dividends for the rest of her life and not do shit.
I mean, the demand is so great.
Oh yeah.
She would never run out.
She could do Taylor.
I kind of wish I went to the Eras tour.
Well, you still can, I think. Isn't it going to go on?
I'm not going to Tennessee. I missed the LA show.
Yeah.
I'm not going to travel for it. What is she, Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah. I would go to Japan.
Who we're wishing a speedy recovery to.
From what? What did he do?
He had to cancel a bunch of tour dates. He has some, I don't know. He's like 75. These things happen.
I saw.
But he's rescheduling. We'll see him.
Speaking of I was going to say Obama. Speaking of Bruce Springsteen, I saw one of the Obama daughters just around the corner at that fancy place. You know that fancy hotel? You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I just don't like when you link Springsteen and Obama.
Well, because they had that podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the podcast on this podcast.
Homies or whatever it's
Renegades.
called. Renegades. Yeah,
We
that's
love
right.
when-
Oh, jeez.
We love when the most
Jesus.
wealthy musician and the president call themselves renegades.
Yeah. I drove by and I saw her head and I was like, oh, that person looks familiar. I was on my scooter and then I was like, oh shit, that's the one of the Obamas.
Are you sure?
Positive.
She didn't have
100%.
did she have security?
Nope.
Mm.
She was waiting outside of the valet. Maybe the security was right there, but I don't know.
You should have tried to kidnap her and then be like, I was just checking.
Yeah, I was just joking. I'm joking, I should have said.
She must have security.
Yeah, well, she had a boyfriend, so boyfriends are security. And speaking of Taylor Swift, I just wanted to show everybody that my younger brother looks like Travis Kelce.
Did you clear this with your younger brother?
Did I what?
Clear this with your younger brother?
No, but I don't give a shit.
I don't think he looks that much like him.
When I first saw this, I thought it was him. I was like, what the fuck was Travis Kelce doing on my shit? Kind of looks like him. He's got that vibe.
Well,
Yeah,
go to
I'd
the
say
next.
so.
Is the next one Travis Kelce?
The next one is probably them laughing in another way. Yeah.
See, I will say, I don't want to give notes on someone's Instagram post, but you should do the comparison. You give the point of reference. For
Oh,
what you're
yeah,
doing,
but
you know what I mean?
I'm not going to do that. You know?
No. They should have done it.
Oh, yeah.
This was a.
Damn, look at that smile. Look at my brother, man. Wait, what the fuck? Does he have hair growing? He's got hair. My brother's been bald for a long time, and he's got a little hair growing. Oh, I got to talk to him. That's messed up that he didn't let any of us know. Anyway, the other news is that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, went to China and he knocked down a little Chinese kid. Did you see it? You didn't see this? Oh, brother, brace yourself. So who knows why? Nobody's really sure why because they didn't tell us. But he's in China, and I think he's doing. A lot of people are saying he's gearing up to run for president. But
of China.
Of China, yeah. He's giving Xi Jinping. I love saying Xi Jinping. It just rolls off the tongue. Fuck.
I know.
But this is him trying to juke out and break the ankles of this kid, and watch what happens.
Wow, he's
Some
not good
awkward
at that.
moments during Governor Newsom's China trip over the weekend. He was showing off his basketball moves.
Oh my God.
Governor Newsom's China trip over the weekend. He was showing off his basketball.
Oh,
That's what I call a China trip.
for the for the audio listener, imagine Gavin Newsom, who's famously he looks like a Batman. He looks like a Batman mayor. He looks like a villain Batman mayor.
He looks like a president from Central Casting.
Yeah, he really does. He's a politician. By the way, look at them. Look at those butt cheeks. And he goes to juke a little Chinese boy, and he slips and he just like totally falls on the ground with him. And then they just kind of lay there, and he plays it off perfectly.
He does. That role
He
is-
hugs the guy, and he hugs the little guy, and he goes, "There you go, you little Chinese kid."
The role is really good.
Yeah, he pats him, and he like holds him, and he gives him a slap on the lower back, real close to that kid's ass, if I do say so. Also, he cannot finger a basketball. Whoops. He can't
Spin it on his finger.
Spin it on his finger. What's that move called?
Spinning it on your finger.
Around the world or whatever.
I had a dream. I was talking to a guy about Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks in the 90s. What's that about?
Kind of fucking
I know.
ESPN ass dreams are you having?
Same dream?
Jeez,
You were
dude.
telling me you were getting rid of your truck and getting a brand new car. I was like, that's so unlike you. Why?
I
And you were
did?
like, it's just time.
I had a dream where I was getting rid of my
No,
car.
This was my dream.
You also, wow, dude.
Two
Yeah.
dreams, one night.
God,
You know what they call
plain
that?
ass economic dreams. My friend is getting a new car in his dream. In my dream.
I just found it odd.
Huh.
Maybe it was because it was your birthday.
Yeah, it was my birthday.
Everyone say happy birthday, Ben.
Everybody say happy birthday. It was October 29th. Thank you, Dylan. And we had a great time. Well, now, by the way, a little housekeeping stuff. Why don't you go ahead and follow us on socials if you don't? On Instagram,
Twitter.
Twitter, and now Twitch. Twitch.tv/PayPigsPod.
That's the big one. We're going to start doing some cool stuff.
Yeah. For me, I played a little mini golf.
For
Did
me,
I-
it's clicking around going, what does this one do?
Yeah. No, truly, it's really fucking confusing. But I also played Scrabble the other night, or last night. Last night for me, 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago for you guys. and it was real fun.
So get on in there and have some fun with us.
Yeah, have some fun. And also go watch the latest Ben and Emil On. It's the Halloween version.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy, is it a shit show. We debate all sorts of important Halloween-y things. So.
Such as, is it okay to have people piss in your toilet?
No, it's not. Never. And if they do, just clean up after yourself. Jesus. So let's go Philip DeFranco mode and let's just get right into it, shall we? Sam Buttman fart.
The moment everyone's been waiting for has finally arrived in the Sam Bankman-Fried trial.
That's right.
And look, a lot of this stuff is coming from people who are actually in the courtrooms. And I'm so jealous that we do not live in New York and cannot go sit in on these trials. And so when people found out he was going to be testifying, these past few days have been just people waiting 8 hours, 9 hours to get in there, 4:30 a.m. I think there's about like 21 overflow seats where people can, like for reporters and stuff, where they can, and then if you're not in there, you're stuck with the grainy courtroom camera footage.
No. Yeah. The stream, man. So they just let anybody in there?
No, it's press people.
Oh. But like you and I would be able to go?
I thought it was still going to be going on because we're going to New York next week, and I thought we could try to get press passes to go. But yeah, there's a lot of people in there now. Even Judge Kaplan's wife was going to watch.
His wife, wow.
The mother of the assistant United States attorney, Danielle Sassoon. I think her mother came to watch.
She's the prosecutor, right?
Yep. It's a big deal for everybody. But yeah, and hey, we thought this day may never come because we couldn't get this guy filled with enough Adderall to get on the.
They finally got him hopped up.
They finally figured out the right dose to get this guy on the stand. And it's a very unusual turn of events. So I was listening. The Wall Street Journal has been sending someone pretty much every day, and they've been kind of recapping what's going on. And they all knew he was going to testify, and then they didn't get to it till the afternoon. They thought it wasn't going to happen because all of a sudden the judge sent the jury home, and they were like, "What the fuck? We're not going to get to see him testify."
Why'd they do that?
Because SBF is such a freak.
He wasn't answering questions directly enough?
Well, the judge just didn't want to admit evidence that was going to be confusing for the jury. So they said, you know what? Why don't we do a dry run and see how you're going to answer these questions?
Right.
Because you're a psycho. So the defense got to ask him his questions. The prosecutor got to cross-examine, and this was all just for the judge. Press and stuff got to stay, but the jury was not there.
Mm-hmm. That was last week.
That was last Thursday. And a big part of that was because they wanted to introduce this narrative that
who's they?
The defense wanted to introduce this narrative that SBF didn't actually do anything wrong or didn't have the required intent because he was just following what his lawyers had said.
Right. That's a big part of the defense is basically skirting all the blame onto deputies of the company, lawyers, pretty much everyone but himself.
Right. And
mostly.
There's a quote, Judge Kaplan said a lot of that is not going to be allowed. And he said, he's not persuaded by it. He said, let's assume that somebody robs a bank, knocks over Walmart, whatever, and comes upon a large sum of illegally obtained money, and the person decides it might be a good idea to salt this away and make sure nobody is going to discover it. The guy says, let me figure out how to do this. And he goes to a lawyer, and he says to the lawyer, I want to buy an expensive condo on Billionaires Row, and I want to form a limited liability company, which we ought to call Gold Dust. And I've got just the apartment.
Great name.
I've got just the apartment, and I'd like you to prepare a contract of sale. And the lawyer is not told where the money came from, not one word about why the objective is to hide the money or the source, and the lawyer incorporates or organizes the LLC. The lawyer prepares the contract of sale, the lawyer represents Gold Dust at the closing, and now the defendant is apprehended, the buyer, the true buyer, and charged with money laundering. And the defense is, well, but I had a lawyer. I had a lawyer who organized the LLC. I had a lawyer who did the contract of sale. Right. I had a lawyer at the closing, and I offered this as evidence that I didn't have a criminal intent in hiding the money. I did just exactly what the lawyer said, and how is that different from what you are trying to do in principle? I'm not saying anything about your client's guilt or innocence.
So what did the defense say? No.
Well, so they don't get to say anything. The judge said we're not going to allow this to be a part of it. So then on Friday, they took up most of the time in front of the jury and basically were allowing him to paint this picture of, I'm just this goofy guy. I didn't know what I was doing. I was only, yes, I was briefly a part of Alameda, but left as
I was walled off.
I was walled off.
Yeah. He said that basically the prosecution is trying to show that SBF lied to the public and to customers when he said that Alameda Research would be treated just the same as any other customer of FTX. You remember that Alameda is the hedge fund of sorts, and FTX is the exchange for crypto. And Alameda had access to FTX customer funds that allowed them to maintain a negative. Whereas any other FTX customer would have a negative balance, they'd get liquidated. Alameda had a special privilege that allowed them to not only go negative, but stay negative and go way the fuck negative.
Right.
And that's that's like the meat of this. And they're questioning whether SBF acted in good faith when he promoted FTX, therefore, as a safer and more transparent crypto exchange, and they include some of his investments, like paying $10 million a year for a 19-year contract for naming rights for the Miami Heat arena. It's like, if you were really doing what you're supposing that you were doing, which is having this safe and transparent exchange, then why weren't you acting accordingly? And the defense is basically trying to position it as they are a legitimate company. They were a legitimate company, excuse me. They did have all of these legitimate business practices. It's just that they made a few mistakes. They fucked up a little bit of ooh-woo going
Right.
on.
Are we not allowed to make a little mistakes?
Are we not allowed to?
Are we not allowed to misplace a few $1 billion?
I'm sorry. I just have I drive a Corolla and I have all this wacky hair. I don't have time to get a haircut. That was one of their things.
Oh, they brought
pointed out that SBF's got no time to get a haircut.
They also there was a lot of very funny moments. So that's the thing. The Friday was all the defense, and there's another woman, Molly White, who's been going every day. I think her name is Molly Oxoff on Twitter, and she's like just a crypto reporter, and a very fair one. And she's been doing great breakdowns of like every day. And she said about Friday, a generous explanation of what happened on Friday would be that Sam Bankman-Fried's defense team was trying to be thorough, asking him to redefine terms that had already been described by previous witnesses and letting him ramble about tangentially related topics. A less generous explanation would be that they were stalling for time. Several of fellow onlookers shared a theory that his team was just running out the clock, not leaving time for cross-examination to begin that afternoon. And so they were hoping that basically the jurors would go home over the weekend and be like, seems like
Sure.
an interesting guy.
It's a strategy if you got nothing else.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. Then on yesterday, the prosecution finally got to ask him questions, and you got a lot more of the more interesting things. One of them was them talking about his hair. And the funny thing is, they repeatedly would ask him about stuff, and he would say, "I don't recall that. I don't know." Or some variation of that, and then they would basically show proof of him either saying that thing or a close association.
Right. A big thing was him, for one thing, talking about how when he got trotted in front of Congress, I believe last year, he spoke highly about the need for regulation, the need for all sorts of fail-safes and things like that to bring crypto and crypto trading more into the legitimate, into the fold, so to speak. But then behind closed doors, he was saying things like "fuck regulators" in DMs,
which she made him read out loud to the court, which is really great.
Fuck regulators in a private conversation with a reporter, and he had some conversations where he would refer to some customers as quote "dumb motherfuckers." And she asked him about that, and he said, well, it was only a specific subset of customers. And to be fair, I think I know who he's talking about. He's probably talking about
me and you.
Us, the types. No, seriously.
Yeah, no.
The small players who are over leveraged and immediately cook their accounts.
The loser consumer.
The loser consumer.
We love the loser consumer.
Basically, their exact target demographic. The loser consumer watching MLB and looking at the FTX on the
going to a Miami Heat game and going, you know what? I got $1,000 burning a hole in my pocket.
Yeah, I'll buy some Solana. Oh boy. What was entertaining to me is how much he was blaming others. So, including and especially his ex-girlfriend, Caroline Ellison. He was saying that he instructed her to get shorter on Bitcoin and whatnot because the price had been dropping, to hedge herself. He was instructing her to have risk parameters, of which she famously had none. So he's basically throwing her under the bus. Then he, in regards to the negative balance code that was implemented, he said it was to patch a bug in FTX's risk management system, and he blamed Gary Wang.
They say Wong, but it's spelled Wang, and it confuses the hell out of
Blamed
me.
Gary Wang and Nishad Singh for that. He said that he supervised them, but he left them to make their own decisions. And then they also got him for deleting chat logs, because that on its face looks really bad. But the defense insists that that was just something that he picked up as a habit at Jane Street, the quant fund.
Yeah, that him and Caroline Ellison met at, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. They're so this was just happening all day. They were finding. They were asking him things that he said he didn't remember, and then hitting him with the proof. So yeah, with Ellison asked if he directed trades at Alameda after stepping down as CEO. He said no, but he did direct company to hedge. Government came prepared with signal chats of him suggesting specific trades.
Oh boy.
SBF objected that he was directing any trades, even though it was clear Ellison was acting at his direction in the chat they brought up. Yeah, several past statements to journalists, tweets, and a Twitter Spaces interview have been brought into evidence to show his public statements. He will often say he doesn't recall saying something, only for an exhibit to be shown where he says that thing.
Wasn't there discovery done by defense where they would have to know that these things were going to be brought up?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He made their job so difficult by... when this was all happening a year ago, we were all going, why won't he shut the fuck up? Why won't he stop doing Twitter Spaces? Why won't he fucking stop doing interviews?
He was high, dude.
Truly.
He was truly high.
The thing with the hair is so funny. So like Sassoon, the prosecutor, asked him if his hairstyle was because he thought it was beneficial that people thought he was crazy, which he seemed, annoyed at the question. And he said no. And then she showed the jury a New York Times article that had one of SBF's colleagues recalling that SBF said, quote, "I think it's important for people to think I'm crazy."
Because part of at first they talk about, or he talks about how he didn't want to be the face of FTX, but inevitably the more press he was getting and the more I remember he was on one of those Nas Daily videos where the guy goes, "This guy is famous. He's a billionaire, and but you wouldn't expect that because he still drives a Honda Civic." And that was his whole thing is, hey, I wear baggy pants and clothes, and I have crazy hair, and I still drive a Civic, despite being a billionaire. And that was, I think, part of what became the allure, is that it is this altruistic company led by this altruistic billionaire eccentric. And
yeah, which we all fucking took the bait for. It was all so ridiculous. Like that's the thing. They point out the effect of altruism, which was all such bullshit. He needed all this money because for all the things he wanted to accomplish in the world, like he needed an infinite amount of money. And yeah, he drives a Honda Civic. Meanwhile, he spent $15 million on private planes, sometimes to send Amazon packages to the Bahamas.
That rocks. I mean, man, can you imagine?
At one point, she asked him if he took a private plane to the Super Bowl. He says he doesn't recall. And she says,
how do you not remember that?
He fucking does. And so she said, is that because you fly on planes that often? And everyone laughed. And it's just like, I don't know how you think that's going to like endear you to anyone or help you by being like, the jury is going to hate you when you're like, I actually can't remember if I flew to the Super Bowl.
To the Super Bowl, yeah. That puts you way, way head and shoulders above everyone on a pedestal of money. My favorite part was when he told Caroline Ellison to repay Alameda lenders. He said that he didn't know the funds would involve FTX money. When, like, of course he fucking knew. He knew. I mean, my favorite part is all of this stuff, honestly, because yeah, he's just fumbling left and right. And as of now, the closing statements were made today, I think.
No, I believe they will be this week, and this will be the last.
That's
week
a fast trial, right? I don't know why. I think the OJ trial
Well, it's also going to be a lot longer, but there's going to be other, because this is not going to be pertaining to the election stuff.
Got it. There's going to be multiple trials. Great. So this one is just for what? Whether or not he did.
This is for all the fraud.
Got it.
And yeah, I mean, I'm so excited. It's crazy. I'm so curious what's going to happen. But can you play the clip of? So this is what just hit. No thanks.
This was the interview
that went viral like a year ago, but.
Which clip specific? Is
just
this just one clip?
Here it says that the digital assets may not be loaned to FTX trading. They can't be loaned out.
There existed a borrow lending facility on FTX. And I think that's probably covered, I don't remember exactly where, but somewhere else in the terms of service.
So he was saying that in the terms of service, it explicitly states that your funds may be used to be lent elsewhere.
Right, so they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But she says that watching his testimony live, there was a lot of that. And I'm like...
Of him taking a moment to kind of...
Yeah, so desperate I would do anything to see the fucking testimony. Just like...
I can't. It's too hard for me to watch. Because he's such an impotent nerd, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't watch... Even though he's like wrong, I just can't. It's cringy for me.
And apparently, Judge Kaplan at one point just said, "The defendant certainly has an interesting way of answering questions."
Oh boy, Babu, yeah. He's also. Did you see the photo of the Chad version of him? The courtroom drawing of him.
Yeah, well, apparently he looks way better because he got a
haircut.
Yeah,
finally got a haircut.
He didn't need people to think he was crazy anymore.
Oh boy, oh man, yeah. I can't deal with the mouth sounds. It says the water bottle with which he was supplied was one of those thin plastic Poland Spring bottles which audibly snapped and crinkled into the microphone as he clutched it to take drinks of water, sometimes mid-sentence. He did this so often that I noticed he had been provided a second bottle the following day. Ugh.
Yeah,
I mean, when you're on Adderall and you're just down in water,
dude.
You got to pee so often. I'd be sitting there just having to pee.
And just nervous energy.
Yeah.
I'm pissing the whole time. But yeah, there was a ton of awkward interactions. This one people keep talking about, where they ask about the spending of the FTX customer funds. So at another point, the prosecutor had backed him into a corner around Alameda Research's spending of FTX customer funds. So is it your understanding that under the payment agent agreement, Alameda was permitted to spend FTX customer deposits? Bankman-Fried says, "I wouldn't phrase it that way, but I think that the answer to the question I understand you to be trying to ask is yes." After pulling the agreement up in front of him, Sassoon instructed him to point out which line in the agreement he believed permitted such behavior. After pausing for a moment or so to search the document for something he could offer in reply, he finally broke the excruciating silence with the funniest thing he could have possibly said at that moment. "So I should preface this by saying I'm not..."
Wait. So this is SBF saying. So I should preface this by saying what?
"So I should preface this by saying I'm not a lawyer." His response ultimately took up an entire page of the transcript published after the fact. Once he was finally finished speaking, Sassoon simply repeated the question. His lawyer objected, arguing the topic had already been covered. Judge Kaplan overruled the objection, agreeing with Sassoon that at no point in his long-winded reply had he actually addressed the question that had been posed to him.
Okay, so holy shit, there was a lot there. So basically, the prosecution said...
She asks him, like, point blank,
where in the agreement does it say that Alameda...
you were permitted to do this with the customer funds?
And he takes a long gander at the agreement and then
he
gives
says,
a page-long...
"I think that the answer to the question I understand you to be trying to ask is yes, we are allowed to do that."
Jesus. I love that after he just rambled, the prosecutor just asked the question again.
Right. Answer the question I'm trying to ask you.
She's young too, right? The prosecutor?
Yeah, I will say, we're talking about these people, the judge and the prosecutor, as if...
They're old?
No.
As if what? Sorry.
As if they're like the good guys in this. Like, I will say Judge Kaplan is a piece of shit. And like,
really?
I'm pretty sure he was involved in the Steve Donziger case, which like we're not going to get into. But, and then I don't know a bunch about Danielle Sassoon. I'm pretty sure she was like a law clerk for Antonin Scalia.
That's right. She attributes her skill set to working for Antonin Scalia.
Yeah, and is a Heritage Foundation affiliated lawyer. So, It's all very, and I mean that has nothing to do with her capability as an attorney. She seems to be very adept at making SBF squirm, and it's very funny. But
I mean, to be fair, I'm sure anybody, a wet paper bag could make SBF squirm.
I mean, he's given them so much material, and it seems like she's prepared by watching all of his interviews.
He's giving her so much material, and he's giving nerd.
Exactly.
Cunt nerd.
He's giving cunt nerd.
Yeah. He is giving cunt nerd. He's serving it up on a platter, and she's just lapping it up.
I just love Judge Kaplan overruled the objection, agreeing with Sassoon that at no point in his long-winded reply that had he actually addressed the question that
it's
had
very
been posted.
Billy Madison.
Fully. When I was reading it, I was like, this is and we are all dumber for having to listen to it. It's really beautiful.
Hip-hop football rules. So we're I guess we're all eagerly await. I think that the jury's absolutely going to find him guilty.
We're all eagerly awaiting the conclusion
like,
of this insane trial.
Basically, it sounds to me like he knew that what he was doing was wrong, but he was hoping that he'd be able to buy himself enough time to fix what was broken and continue going on as a legitimate business.
Right.
And then when he got caught, he just kind of pleaded this sort of vague ignorance about, well, it's open to interpretation, the way that the terms of service are structured and blah, 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 blah. And also these people who I entrusted to do things right, took it upon themselves to do wrong things too. Even though my instructions to them were to do a certain thing, they kind of took the initiative and broke the law themselves.
I mean, I'm also very curious what's going to happen with all these underlings who made a deal, Caroline Ellison, Gary Wong, Nishad Singh, all these people going, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah.
And I figured if I left, that would make it worse. They need my help.
Nishad Singh sounds like a tennis player, doesn't he? Sounds like a tennis player or a golf player. I think I'm thinking of Vijay Singh, who's a golf player.
I think he solved it on that one.
Yeah, I think we solved that. Well, that about does it there. Let's switch gears, huh? Can you switch gears? You got to hit the clutch, man. For the audio listener, he's just ruining the fucking transmission here.
It's not me. It's the clutch is sticky as hell.
Christ. Well, Stellantis, the car company formerly known as Chrysler, Stellantis, and Ford have reached tentative deals with
GM as well.
Good
They
Motors.
were the last holdout.
They were the last holdout with the UAW.
It's also General Motors.
Yeah, I know. What did I say? Good Motors?
Yeah.
I know. I'm joking.
Do you know what Fiat stands for?
Is this a trick question?
Mm-mm.
French? Is that right?
No, it's an Italian brand.
Okay. Fiat, but what is it? So it's an acronym? FAIT?
Just let me fucking do the punchline.
Oh, man. Okay. What does Fiat stand for?
Fix it again, Tony.
Okay. Tony, like an Italian guy?
Yeah.
That's a... Okay.
Let us know in the comments how you feel about that
joke.
The jury's out on that one.
I think that, yeah. That reminds me of the whole GM, Chevy, Ford. Well,
right. There's a lot
Chevy
of
is a GM brand.
Fix or repair daily.
Yeah. I never know which one's the good one. I think Toyota rules them all. One car to rule them all. Yeah, but Toyota's just truly...
Previously, you would have been like, Volvo's the best car.
No. I don't. I think old Volvos are good, but even then, now I like them because they're simple to fix and parts are readily available, but that's kind of changing. Toyotas are famously one of the best brands, and Honda. Basically, any Japanese... Those Japanese, man.
They know what they're doing.
They can commit an atrocity, and they can... a war atrocity, and they can build a car. And they know how to cook a fish.
And sometimes not cook the fish.
Yeah. By the way, last night I got some DoorDash. Fucking the person left the thing.
Some guy's just screaming, talk about the UAW.
We'll get to it. Chill out. They left my sushi outside my gate on the sidewalk, and it got stolen within 2 minutes.
Good.
Not good.
Why?
I was hungry.
That means some guy got fed.
I was playing Scrabble, and I got hungry. And I couldn't. I played for 3 hours last night, man. Isn't that insane?
Scrabble?
I felt like I was high on Adderall again. I felt like the old college
I get really
days.
pissed because
you suck at it?
Just if you didn't grow up playing, it's just impossible.
You got to learn that your 2-letter combination.
Truly, I just played and I was like, this is stupid. I don't know these fucking words, and I'm like challenging it because they put en or whatever, and I'm going n. That's not a fucking word. And then we look up in the Scrabble dictionary, and it's like the phonetic spelling of the letter n, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah. Well, that's sounds like a you problem, dude. You got to study up on those 2-letter words.
That's ridiculous. That's
Careful
not
who you challenge.
I'm doing make a new Scrabble where whoever puts the coolest words on.
Yeah. All right. Well, so anyway, UAW they reached an end to this 6-week-long strike. It still is pending.
Yep, the members
ratification.
The members have to vote on it.
Yeah, the members have to vote on it. But let's see. We've got some highlights here. So with Stellantis, the UAW is they've saved 5,000 jobs, and they got a commitment to. So 5,000 jobs were gonna get canned. But so now those 5 jobs are getting saved, and Stellantis is giving a commitment to add 5,000 more jobs by April 28th by building a mid-sized truck at a recently closed factory in Belvidere, Illinois, and adding 1,000 new jobs at a battery plant there as well. There are more details that aren't fully known yet.
Right, the whole thing is not public,
Yeah.
but there's some huge wins here.
They
right?
got an immediate 11% raise and additional raises totaling 25% in 4.5 years, which includes...
Right, so over the life, like 25% over 4.5 years, as well as cost of living adjustments, which is huge. So with the cost of living adjustments, the top wage is estimated to rise over $42 an hour by 2028.
Good for them.
It also eliminates the despised 2-tiered wage scale for newer hires, provides permanent jobs for temp workers, and boosts retirement income, including 401k contributions. Provides a path for workers at electric vehicle battery plants to earn the same high wages under the national bargaining agreement that other UAW members earn. So that was a big one too. They were trying to like silo people at their new battery plants. Like, oh well, this is a whole different thing. They're not going to fall under this agreement, and they were like, nope, those are still going to be a part of it.
They won the right to strike if another plant closes,
yes.
Which was a previous, there was a previous no strike clause that if a plant closes, they can't strike, but now they can.
But yeah, I mean, pretty huge. The top UAW wage would rise to over $40 over the life of the new contracts from $32 an hour. That would allow employees working 40 hours a week to earn about $84,000 a year.
What was interesting to me is that the cost of living adjustment, also known as the COLA, which I like.
You like that, huh?
I like that.
As a
COLA.
COLA
I love a
man
good
yourself?
acronym. Love it. COLA. Love cola. Love Diet Coke. When it was given up, the cost of living adjustment was given up in the contract when Chrysler was in dire straits.
In 2009.
Yes, because they were on the brink of bankruptcy. But now, obviously, since these car companies are posting insane profits, they were able to negotiate to bring that back in. And, whoa, spooky. Got the mail guys just scaring the shit out of me, dropping the mail in the box. For the audio listener, oh my God, I just peed a little bit. I didn't really. But also, so they also got promises of new products for these 2 other plants that were facing a possible closure in Michigan and Ohio. They were an engine plant and a machining plant that makes parts for transmissions. And the reason that they were going to be closed is why?
Electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles. And the electric vehicles, man, those are, well, real fast, before we get into that.
Well, yeah, I don't want to jump there that quickly. So as you're talking about the 2009 thing, like, so a lot of people are framing this as, the United Auto Workers, like, bullied which, and even if that's the case, fucking good. The Sean Fain, this whole thing has been so great to watch. Ford, it seemed like, was always going to be the first one to go. They have a better relationship with the UAW, and then Stellantis followed, and GM was a bit of a holdout, and so they were basically like, okay, fuck it, and they struck another plant, and they were like, okay, Jesus Christ, this is fucking. Because
they're hemorrhaging money with these strikes.
Yeah, so much money. Hold on, I'm trying to find how much it cost them.
I believe it was one. I saw 600 million getting tossed around. I saw 100 million getting tossed around. It just depends on which plant you're talking about and which company. But it's in the tens, if not hundreds of millions.
Right. It's crazy. But yeah. So the way they talk about this can be very frustrating when they frame this in what's this going to mean for the car makers, which is so odd. There's a big New York Times article about it. And so they said, GM and United, the UAW reached a deal that mirrored agreements the union had reached in recent days with Ford. The strike stretched longer than the White House officials would have liked. Who gives a fuck? The White House can suck my dick.
He said it. You can just cut me off. I'm not going to get sucked.
I don't give a fuck what the White House officials would have liked. And they quote Carl Brower from iCars.com. The near-term impact of the strike will be relatively minor, but Mr. Brower warned that in the long term, Ford, GM, and Stellantis would have to raise car prices to maintain their profits. Their competitors will follow suit to take advantage of the opportunity to earn more money. This is going to make cars more expensive. And I don't think that's true. That
might be true for electric vehicles, but not for internal combustion engine vehicles. But it's tricky because they're getting more and more pressure from the government to move entirely to electric vehicles per the government mandates.
Yeah, but they also said they could absorb these costs elsewhere, and they don't have to raise the prices.
Right.
It's very reminiscent of the whole inflation debate, where what it really came down to was a lot of companies raising prices because they could, and then just trotting out fucking Jay Powell to be like, the consumer needs to stop spending so goddamn much. You're ruining everything. But yeah, they also talk about how this is going to affect other things. So Mr. Fain has portrayed the tentative agreements as a signal for the union to begin organizing drives at Tesla, which dominates the fast-growing electric car business, and foreign-owned companies like Toyota, Honda, and BMW that have large non-union operations in the United States. The union will organize like we've never organized before, Mr. Fain said Sunday.
They're high on their own power. And they're high, and they should
be fucking. I mean, they're showing them look, we'll be able to hit you where it hurts if you don't want to. If you don't want to comply with this stuff. And they said companies without unions can expect the UAW to deploy the same hardball tactics that Mr. Fain used against Ford, GM, and Stellantis, including rhetorical attacks on multi-million-dollar executive pay and hourly wages that have failed to keep pace with high inflation.
If they successfully get Tesla unionized, man, is that going to fuck Tesla so hard? Because they're already. I mean, with the Cybertruck already admittedly not going to be profitable for the next couple of years at least, them going nut. I hope it makes Elon's head explode or his dick explode.
I'm sure he's a little bit nervous, and that's they also point out that even if their next efforts are unsuccessful, right? Even if they're not able to unionize these places or strike for better pay, it could lead to just preemptive pay raises for employees because people are like, okay, let's try to make these people happy.
Yeah.
So we don't have a UAW situation on our hands.
Yeah. Maybe you give someone a little bit of a raise, and it might even be less than what they would demand if they struck. Strike or struck?
Strike.
Fuck.
Struck.
Should we talk about the EVs?
Sure.
So we got Ford saying that they're going to postpone. Basically, EVs are proving to be not as successful in terms of customer demand as previously thought. Ford is saying that they're going to postpone about $12 billion in electric vehicle investment as buyers become more cautious. They're learning that people are less willing to pay for EVs because they're way the fuck more expensive. They lost about $3.1 billion so far just this year on EVs, and they're not alone. Everybody's losing money. GM, Stellantis, they're all losing money, and they're all saying that they are still going to invest in electric vehicle production. It's just they're going to slow down. They're going to pull back a little bit.
Right. That's the main thing. They're emphasizing we're not cutting back. We're reassessing the pace at which we're doing. Right. So this is CFO John Lawler. We're not moving away from our second generation EV products. We are, though, looking at the pace of capacity that we're putting in place. We're going to push out some of that investment.
And there were a couple interesting things just this week. Again, just dogpiling on Tesla. You had Panasonic, who is the battery maker. They cut their domestic battery production, and they cited specifically Tesla demand weakness. Then you also had ON. I think it's ON or ON.
Oh, the running shoe company.
No, good guess, but no, semiconductors. They just reported a guidance miss. So basically, whenever a company reports their earnings, they also guide for the next quarter. And they issued guidance lower than previously expected. And so what they do is they sell silicon carbide chips to electric vehicle makers of whom have over 50% share.
You're telling me a silicon carbide this chip? Let us know in the comments
That's really good, dude.
if that one was good.
You telling me? That's really good. That
Thank
was
you.
really good. They sell silicon carbide chips to electric vehicle makers. I believe they sell to 4 of the 5 top EV manufacturers, most of whom are in China. But they noted an increased risk to automotive demand due to high interest rates. So you got all these confluent events.
Sure.
You got Panasonic lowering their guidance due to lower demand. The Ford is saying that the prices are too high and that people aren't wanting it. And then ON Semiconductor reporting a miss and saying that, hey, we're just seeing less demand. So it's all like, hey, maybe the air is starting to come out of these Tesla tires, so to speak. And I've been harping on it. But also, real fast, there was a Trump administration economist, Steve Moore, who had some commentary to Fox Business. So I take this with a grain of salt because he's from the Trump administration, so he's naturally going to be shitting on anything clean energy. But he said that the entire electric vehicle experiment has been an utter failure, as we're starting to see, and that it's just been a bad idea. And he said he was speaking to dealers around the country who've told him that their lots are full of EVs, despite the government throwing money at people to buy them with subsidized things and tax credits.
Yeah, but that's where I like. Oh, sorry, keep going.
Well, he does say companies would best pursue hybrids, but the government is pushing for EVs. I personally would fuck with a hybrid more before I fuck with fully electric.
I would love a hybrid, but they are also more expensive.
More expensive than an EV?
No, more expensive than a just regular standard internal combustion engine.
How do you say it, by the way? Hybrid?
What did I say?
No, say it.
Hybrid?
Good. Some people say hybrid.
I was so nervous when you made me say it. I was like, please, I don't want any more ridicule on the internet.
We both get ridicule. You know, cute. We both say shit wrong. You say silicon wrong.
Okay.
I say shit wrong all the time.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I don't think it has as much to do with demand as like, it's a pretty simple, when you're going to buy a car and they're just like, well, do you want this way more expensive version that's electric? And you're like, yeah, it looks sick. It's fucking sleek. And I plug it in my house and they're like, great, it's 10 grand more. And you're like, well, that's a lot of fucking money.
That's a lot.
And then they're like,
money.
But at the end of the year, when you do your taxes, we'll give you $7,500 back. And it's like, well, I don't.
But it's not everyone. Remember the Meet Kevin commercial where the RAV4 is not eligible for some dumb fuck reason?
Because it's not made here.
Yeah, because it's not American.
But even if you're eligible for everything and you're going to get your $7,500 or whatever credit you get, it's like, how many people are like, oh, easy, I'll just wait for my $7,500? Who, like, the average consumer is not like, yeah, I don't need this. Most people are like, no, I do need this money.
Right. But then there's also the people like me who live in an apartment where I don't have the outlet. I don't have the power capacity to set that up.
Sure.
Also, I love my fucking truck, man. Also, I don't think I'm ever going to buy a brand new car. It still blows my mind how they sell millions of cars a year. So that many people are just cycling through cars. How do we not just have cars piled up everywhere?
Honestly, you brought it up and I think about it all the time now.
Right? How are we not
I never thought about it before. And then when you said it, it's like every time I see one of those fucking trucks with all the cars on it, I'm like, how?
Yeah, it's like proof that we live in a simulation. Because if each car company is selling millions of cars a year, there should be they should just be piled up in a corner because there's so fucking many of them.
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
It nuts me drivel, dude.
It nuts me drivel.
Fuck.
But yeah, I wanted the Subaru. I wanted the hybrid, but it was way more expensive.
How much more expensive?
It was probably about $10,000 more dollars.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
I still get driven nuts by and your car has it, but there is an off switch for it.
The turning off
turning off thing where you stop and it turns off the engine, and then if you start to go, it turns it on. It's just, I can't imagine that that's good for the spark plugs. If the spark plugs,
no, it's fine. I've looked into it.
Really? I believed you, folks. I believed him. He looked at me. He winked at me, and I believed him. Typical man.
He's out here just worrying about spark plugs.
I'm worried about spark plugs because they're rated for only so many starts before they start to
I
wear out.
imagine they would have accounted for that.
Or it's just a ploy to get you to
Buy an electric vehicle.
no. Eventually the spark, you're gonna have to buy more spark plugs.
And they got to
Smart.
sell 1 million cars.
Yeah.
Millions of cars.
I'm not gonna Google. I can't be bothered to Google like how do we not run out of space for cars, or like along the lines of the chicken conversation we had weeks ago. How do we not run out of chickens? It's like
Cars
the
all the
opposite
way
problem.
down.
Cars all the way down. Well, speaking of cars, the Cruise just got banned. They got their not banned. They got their driverless car permit suspended in California by the DMV, which rocks.
It does rock,
Yeah.
actually.
Based-
San Francisco seems like a bit of a fucking nightmare.
Really? No shit. What's
Just-
been going
well,
on there?
I mean, it's just like this, this breeding ground for experiments run on its population.
Yeah. Ugh.
This was from Market Watch. It's a case of a technology company moving too fast and breaking things, which is every single one of them.
Yeah.
But this time, the detriment of the industry to the detriment of the industry and consumers. Cruise miscalculated by trying to roll out its technology before it was ready for prime time, especially in the highly regulated world of auto safety. And it sounds so scary. Earlier this week, the company got punished by the California DMV for failing to give complete video of an accident earlier this month involving both a human driver and a cruise vehicle that sent a pedestrian to the hospital with life-threatening injuries after the cruise car trapped her. A cruise spokesperson said the company gave the DMV and other regulators the full video and reached out proactively.
Trapped her.
Yeah.
Pinned her somewhere? Or
Yeah. Under her. Because it says,
She was under it.
what?
She was under the car, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it just
And
didn't
because,
move.
so they used to do it they used to have cruise vehicles all over the place and it would have the human driver in.
Yeah.
Or not the human driver, the human.
Fail safe?
Right.
Yeah.
And they said, had the human been in there, it would have known that another human was stuck under the car.
And they could move it.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, and then you see the traffic jam. You remember the traffic jam that was
Yeah.
created where they're just all these dumb little dipshit cars just going, I can't, I don't know where to go. And
Right.
then the other one's going, me either. It's just, fuck you. So the DMV specifically said, it cited 4 reasons. The department determines the manufacturer's vehicles are not safe for the public's operation. The manufacturer has misrepresented any information related to the safety of the autonomous technology of its vehicles. Ooh, that's a big one. And any act or omission of the manufacturer, which the department finds makes the conduct of autonomous vehicle testing on public roads by the manufacturer an unreasonable risk to the public. Fully fucking, yeah, of course. It is an unreasonable, That's kind of the conundrum I see these companies face, because on paper, yeah, driverless vehicles in a utopian society, that'd be pie in the sky, man. But you can't make that happen. I just don't know.
They're just so far. They're so far behind from where they say they are. But
Yeah.
I'm looking up.
They love to lie.
I'm looking up the actual news story of the woman getting trapped under the car.
It's like that Rihanna song. I love the way you lie. All these VC nerds looking at Tesla and shit. They're hypnotized Rihanna style.
San Francisco. A woman is seriously injured after being struck by a human driver that launched her in front of a Cruise autonomous car in San Francisco Monday night, the robo-taxi company said. Police,
So someone hit her and her body got tossed,
Yeah.
and then a Cruise ran
after
her
being
over.
struck by a human driver that launched her in front of a Cruise autonomous car. I guess their practice runs didn't
Count for that?
Yeah.
What if a human body gets launched at your freaking car?
So police say at 9:31 p.m., officers responded to 5th and Market Streets and discovered a female pedestrian trapped under a Cruise vehicle. San Francisco Fire Department says they had to use the jaws of life to lift the car off the woman who was trapped underneath. What was it?
Jaws of Life would be a
It's
great
doing
name
a real
for it.
Austin Powers. I fell over and over.
Jesus. Jaws of Life would be a great name for a dentist office. No, actually it
No.
wouldn't. I don't think so. Can I take that back? We can cut that. Well,
Yeah, there's not. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Like,
it sounds like she got hit and got tossed under, and the stupid cruise car probably was like.
Okay, the impact of the crash was so severe, the victim was thrown into the way of the cruise vehicle before she was run over. Jesus Christ!
Right.
Cruise officials said their vehicle operated as designed and started braking moments before impact. We ran that woman over just as we designed it to.
Yeah, but then the vehicle was probably instructed to like, okay, you've been in an accident. Stop.
Lower onto the woman, trap her.
But that is something that now the nerds have to account for. Well, pedestrians can get stuck under the car, and normally you'd have to like, I don't know, would you move it? I don't fucking know. Jesus Christ. Yeah. They should put springs under it. Make it kangaroo style. It could just bounce off. It could just launch itself off and splat onto another person.
The way they talk about this too, it's like, yeah, it's obviously not ready. Part of the doing an automated driving system is the detection, having to use the sensors to detect what's around you, predicting what's all the other road users are going to do in the next several seconds, which is basically impossible. Engineers try to plan for every possible scenario, even ones that involve collisions with pedestrians. There's literally an infinite number of potential scenarios that could occur. This is certainly one of those.
Yeah. What's the name of that company that operates here in LA where you see them all the time?
Is it Waymo?
Now? Waymo, yeah.
I believe that's Google's.
Yeah, that's Google.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'd like to ride in one.
Do they have a human?
I want to sabotage it and then sue them. We should brainstorm and think of a scenario that the engineers have not yet thought of. So that
I've got one.
Then, what?
You let a car hit you and launch you in front of the driverless car.
No. That's already been done. See, that's already been done.
Oh,
We
now
already
they
know
account
that's been
for
done.
that.
Let's. What if I were to have some kind of medical emergency, but since there's no human to communicate that I need to go to the hospital, I piss and shit myself or something, and I go like, I've suffered pain and suffering. I've got this pain and suffering.
I can't wait till you just get stuck with a cleaning bill from Waymo.
Or I roll down the window and I stick my head out because I'm going dog mode and I'm like, ooh, I'm having so much fun. There's no human driver to tell me that's not. I'm gonna
and you get your head knocked off.
I'm gonna plead ignorance, SBF style, and go, I didn't know that I wasn't. And then I bonk my head and I get hurt. I don't want to lose my head, brother.
You probably would.
Then I'd be dead.
Remember that woman on a bachelorette party?
Oh, I'm thinking of the movie
September 11th. Midsummer.
No, the other one by that guy, that freak.
Hereditary.
Yeah. Man, oh man.
No, the bachelorette party. She's sticking her head out the limousine window.
Yeah. Australian?
Screaming,
Was
having
it
the time of
Australian?
her life. It's always an Australian. I don't know if it was. Head knocked clean off by a bridge.
Damn, dude. By a Brit? A British person? Oh, a bridge. Got it.
A British person.
A British. Bridges Jones's diary. No, I can't go there. No, don't worry, we're not going there.
Why can't you go there?
Because it's just too much.
Bridges Jones's diary?
Bridges Jones's diarrhea. No, but really though, we should think of something where we can get ourselves in a situation where Google is there then liable. So there is a situation. Maybe I put on my seatbelt wrong because I actually don't know how to put on a seatbelt. And if there were a human driver there to help me, I wouldn't have, cut off the circulation to my neck or whatever body part.
The problem is to really get a lot of money, you got to really get hurt.
That's true. What if I try to get out of the car while it's moving? Straight up, plain and simple.
How hard?
Oh, I thought that the car was stopped.
I have a friend.
The driver didn't tell me. There's no driver. There should be a voice that says, car is stopped. Get out.
I have a friend.
Really? Why don't you brag about it?
I just did. He was in the car with his father. A truck jackknifed, sliding towards them. Obviously, his, reaction is to brace yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Put his hands up like this, and he was mostly fine, but his arm got all fucked up here.
His dad or him?
His dad was fine. His dad ducked.
Smart.
But yeah, so his right arm is now
a truck.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Spider-Man situation. When you get injured by a truck, you turn into a truck.
When he goes like this to shoot his web, it's just a horn sound.
It just honks.
Sorry.
But like a lot of the muscles and nerves are just kind of gone. But huge payout.
Yeah. I bet.
It kind of just, you always go, God, would I trade my right arm for...
Yeah.
Tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's what I think whenever I'm on my scooter, and I well, not whenever I'm on it, but you hear the Sweet James, who's an accident attorney here in Los Angeles. I was in a motorcycle accident, and Sweet James got me $5 million. I'm like, all right, but what did that really cost you? Like your dick or your knee or something?
Right, exactly.
So I don't know. I'd want to be a pioneer though, for sure. Like a footnote in Wikipedia history, like the woman, the McDonald's lady who spilled hot coffee, who got a really bad rap by the public.
She did, yeah.
It was like, oh, you stupid bitch!
Oh, yeah.
Didn't you know that coffee's hot? And like, no, it was truly way too hot. She scalded herself. There's a difference between going, ooh, I burned myself, and spilling it and giving yourself third-degree burns and having nerve damage.
And they were able to come to the conclusion that McDonald's was keeping the coffee at such an unreasonably hot temperature.
Yeah.
It's like that they were like, this liquid should never be this hot.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be that
Just
hot.
molten lava they're putting in styrofoam cups.
Certain hotels and shit, you go and you turn on the hot water, and it's like, what are you trying to do? What germ do you think needs to be killed? There's no way you should be running your water heaters this high, folks.
I have a theory that my landlord's doing something to my water heater.
Really? Why?
We had a bit of a contentious thing with the water heater. It's a whole thing. He was pissed he had to replace it, but now all of a sudden, anytime someone is here to do something, I go to take a shower, and it's so fucking hot. And then I look at the thing that's turned up. I'm like, who's doing this?
Interesting. You look at the thing. You mean you look at the water heater?
The water heater. I see what the temperature's at.
Oh, man.
Trying to burn my skin off.
Maybe you should think about that before you. You should think about that, man. Well, I guess that probably just about does it, folks. Again, a reminder: subscribe and watch us and all that shit. And patreon.com/paypigspod, because we're going to be going nut in that.
Also, remember to comment on. I can't remember all of them there, but there was a few jokes we're gonna need to know.
We're gonna need to know
if you guys liked them or not.
All you need to know. KNX 1070 News Radio. Thank you, Dylan.
Okay, we'll see you in the bonus.
See you in the bonus.